ahead. Hi. We're at a new time, so we are discombobulated. We are starting at 8, not 9. And so Jimmy was waiting for an alarm, which there isn't any.
I got to go back to work today.
I didn't.
It was good.
Mine was good too. I painted.
And I have a short week.
He does.
Only 3 more days to work.
It's pretty amazing.
It is. It's the best.
It's the best. So we're just a little off, like the sun's not even down. Well, it's like setting.
Yeah, we really got to work on our times.
I don't know
Because it's starting to get hot, and we've got to get out. We have to ride our bikes.
I don't know what you're doing.
So we don't know what we're doing. But I have to get to bed early, too.
Yes. So many things we've got to do.
But then we talk quite a bit after we're done. After this is all done, we talk quite a bit.
It gets us in the mood to talk more.
Dialoguing.
You're just really helping us be able to talk to each other. It's pretty freaking funny. I don't know.
We talk anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, we talk. I don't know. It's just different.
I took a nap.
It's like we detox before this, and we have dinner, and we detox, and then after this, we have conversation. Like, because we're ready to converse, because we've been talking to you guys. This is really for our posterity, for those, our children's children's children. They will get to see us because, you know, our kids don't watch these.
They're going to have a hard time because it's going to go from Facebook to something else. Anybody remember MySpace?
It's on YouTube. My things are on YouTube.
Yeah, true.
YouTube's pretty big.
Yeah. It'll be funny to see.
Anyway, I don't know what that has nothing to do with anything.
No bearing on anything.
It's hot.
But we are here.
It's hot. I didn't even go outside. As you can see, I wore this sweatshirt all day. I have a short sleeve shirt on under it, but I was too cold to wear it in my house, so I have a sweatshirt on all day.
We had an earthquake yesterday.
Yeah! That was my verse for today in my live stream. If you watch my personal live stream.
You can't see it.
I can't read it from here, but it does talk about, oh, that's why I can't see it. I have no glasses on. No, it's too dark over there. I can't see it anyway. Anyway, it talked about the earth's quaking and God being in control of all those things, and I just thought that was amazing that my verse for today was on the earth quaking and God is our refuge and our strength, our very present help in time of trouble. And we had an earthquake.
Yep.
And you know, we had earthquakes in July. Then there was snow in November. We weren't here for that, though.
So we're close. April, May, June, July.
Oh. Didn't even think of that. Earthquakes don't happen, like, at certain times of the year. Like, oh, it's that time of the year. We should be getting some earthquakes. That doesn't happen.
I don't know. I know that I got a couple texts and I was just like, yeah, it's just rocking me into bed. Because we were going to bed.
Right.
And then the earth shook. It always shakes a little bit better when you go upstairs.
Right. That's it. Better. So tonight we're going to be in 1 Samuel 30 and 31. It's on endings and beginnings.
Dear Jesus, thank you for this time. Thank you for us being able to get into your word. We thank you for the comfort that even though there's pandemics and the earth is shaking and all this is going around us, we can find peace in you and in your word. And we lift this time up.
And Lord, we just ask that you would just help us to stay focused on whatever you have for us. We pray that you would help us to be open to whatever direction you would have for us to go. And we pray that those that would come in would be able to benefit from our teaching as well, and that you would just be glorified in anything and everything we say. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
So, in 1 Samuel chapter 30, David and his men were sent away from the Philistine king because the Philistine rulers didn't want to fight Israel with David on their side. They didn't think that would be a good idea. So the king of the Philistines sent David back to Ziklag, where all his families were, right? So they get back there, and it's burning. It's on fire. Because the Amalikites came through, and they had burned everything up and taken everything they had, men, women, or not men, women, children, and all their stuff. So in verse 3, it says, when David and his men reached Ziklag, they found it destroyed by fire, and their wives and sons and daughters taken captive. And in 5, it says, he was greatly distressed because the men were talking about stoning him. Each was bitter in spirit because of his sons and daughters, but David found strength in the Lord his God. Yes, because his men failed him. His men weren't going to give him any strength because now their strength had been taken because their families had been taken. And instead of David freaking out and running and hiding or trying to come up with something on his own, he went to God. So in 7, he calls the priest and he inquires of the Lord, shall he go pursue this raiding party that stole their stuff? Will he overtake them? And God says, pursue them. You will certainly overtake them and succeed in the rescue. And by the way, those that had burned up Ziklag and taken all the stuff were the Amalikites. The Amalikites is who we started all of this with. Saul was supposed to kill off all the Amalekites. Kill them all. Kill them all. Destroy them all. Destroy them all. And he didn't. And
so they came back.
So there they are. So David goes. They find an Egyptian slave kid along the way. He leads them to the camp of the Philistines. David fights them, and everyone is taken out except for 400 young men who rode off on camels and fled. None of them got away except for 400. That's how it says it. It's kind of funny.
And they got away with?
On camels.
Their own camels. That's all they got.
So, when David took over this camp of the Philistines, they took back everything, or not the Philistines, of the Amalekites. They took back everything that the Amalekites had plundered, including all of their stuff. So they took back a lot of stuff. And then verse 22, Jimmy had some stuff that stuck out to him.
But all the evil men and the troublemakers among David's followers said, because they did not go out with us, we will not share with them the plunder we recovered. So it's talking about the 200 guys that they just couldn't go. So they stayed and made like a base camp.
Yeah.
So they're bitter. We don't want to share. They're being nasty. And then David steps in and said, however, each man can take his wife and his child and go. They could just.
So his men are trying to like step up and front and say, we're gonna say what's going on here.
They're trying to do what they did to Saul.
Yeah, they're trying to boss David around and say, this is how we're gonna do this. Is that what they're doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And David replied, no, my brothers, you must not do that with the Lord, which the Lord has given to us, has given us. He has protected us. He has delivered us into our hands, the raiding party that came against us, who will listen to what you say. To share of the man who stayed with the supplies is to be the same as that who went down to the battle. All will share alike. David made this statute an ordinance for Israel from that day to this.
Who will listen to what you say?
Who's got the juice? David's got the juice.
Because God chose him.
And I just turned off my iPad.
Oh no.
There we go. And wow, that's weird. It just switched over to night mode. Check that out. So it kind of reminds you of what his great grandson does.
Jesus.
kind of referring to?
What?
That no one's above anybody else.
Yeah. That we're all, that God, the greatest among you is a servant of all. So no one is over another. Everyone is the same.
Mm-hmm.
So Jesus was all about that. So David is making it be that we're not going to put one above the other. So that was good. So, and that was necessary because they were trying to push David around and say what was going to happen, and they weren't anointed by God. They didn't have the right to do that. So in 26, David reached Ziklag. He sent some of the plunder to the elders of Judah, who were his friends, saying, here's a gift to you from the plunder of the Lord's enemies. And he sends a little here, and he sends a little there, and he sends plunder to all the places where him and his men roamed. So now he ends up kind of just giving like these little gifts to these people, all his friends.
Hey, Tom.
And hi, Thomas. Thank you for coming in. And just so they remember him, like thank you stipends to these friends. And so because of that, he's on their minds, which is just kind of ironic because in the next chapter, news is going out throughout the kingdom of the Philistines, and at the same time, David is sending out these love gifts to all those that supported him. So here you go. Jimmy is going to take us through chapter 31.
Chapter 31. So, as we all remember from our last study, the Philistines were there. Saul was there. Saul pulled Samuel. Samuel said, this is what's going to happen to you tomorrow. The kingdom's going to be ripped from your hands. You and your sons are going to die. Well, this is the tomorrow. So, they're fighting against the Philistines. The way it reads is like Saul had the high ground. So it's always harder to take the high ground when you're in battle because whoever's fighting you has to climb up in order to get to you. And it's easier for you to fight down towards someone. So, this is tomorrow. You got the high ground, but you're going to lose it. So the fighting grew fierce. Saul was injured by an archer. It was a critical wound. So he's going to die. But apparently the battle was very, very, very close because Saul said to his armor bearer, draw your sword and run me through, or these uncircumcised fellows will come and run me through and abuse me. But his armor bearer was terrified and would not do it. So Saul took his own sword and fell on it. But his armor bearer was terrified and would not do it. You know why his armor bearer was terrified and would not do it?
He wasn't about to kill the Lord's anointed.
Even David wasn't going to kill the Lord's anointed. It didn't matter what. He wasn't going to lay a hand on the Lord's anointed because why? He's anointed by the Lord.
Right.
When the armor bearer saw that Saul was dead, he too fell on his sword and died with him. So Saul, his 3 sons, and the armor bearer died together in the same day. Guess what? I said what's going to happen. Samuel. But he got his word from the Lord.
Of course.
So, what was said? What God said to you a long time ago? Remember that one time, long time ago? Long time ago? Maybe it's 35 years. Who knows?
It was well, somebody knows, but
yeah.
It was a while back.
You know, because he was king for...
Well, nevertheless, yesterday, Samuel told him, as an apparition conjured up by the medium, that he was going to be with him that day. So, after he dies, the Philistines find their bodies, cut off their heads, put their armor and their heads up to show everybody that...
Well, it doesn't say what they did with the heads.
Well, they take the heads. They cut off the head and stripped off the armor, and then they sent messengers throughout the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news in the temple of their idols and among their people. The armor was in the temple, and the bodies were on the wall Beth-shan.
And Beth-shan was what was going on in that temple? That's their
The Ashereth's temple is there, where the temple prostitutes were at. But Beth-shan was the wall. I mean, they're in the Philistines' lands, so yeah. So at the end of the chapter in verse 12,
all when the people of
Jabesh Gilead
heard what the Philistines had done to Saul, all their valiant men marched through the night to Beth-shan. They took down the bodies of Saul and his sons from the wall of Beth-shan and went to Jabesh, where they buried them. So you have these men, Israelites, that marched all night long to go and reclaim their king's body, deep in Philistine territory. The Philistines didn't go near them.
So,
because they had to go and claim the body of God's anointed.
At the same time David's love gifts were going out to his friends, the news of Saul's death was going out to the Philistines. Which brings us to some key points that we had for tonight. Key words were that he inquired of the Lord, David did, and his word was law. All will share alike. No one person was going to get more than anybody else. And then in Saul's battle, the Israelites fled.
Oh, yeah.
But the valiant men marched in,
yeah.
And they recovered Saul's body.
Not only did they flee, they fled early.
Yeah, they fled before everything really. They fled once everything started.
Like they saw the battle going bad, so they fled. They saw that the king had fallen, so they fled. So they're just all running away.
So our verse for tonight was, who will listen to what you say? Who will listen to what you say? The share of the men who stayed with the supplies is to be the same as that of him who went down to the battle. All will share alike. 1 Samuel 30:24. And tonight's topic was gifts given, news received. They were both happening at the same time. And I guess it's just a perspective of if you were receiving gifts or getting news. So 1 Samuel 30 was David destroys the Amalikites for their Ziklag family's capture, recovering all. And in 1 Samuel 31, Philistines wound Saul, kill sons, so he falls in his sword. And possibly for you to learn, or for something to take away, is poor choices lead to poor consequences, but inquiring of God leads to clear direction. And we see that David inquired of God and he got some clear direction. Saul made poor choices and ended up with poor consequences. And in 2 Samuel, I didn't give what chapter, but we're in 2 Samuel 1 as our homework. 2 Samuel 1, I titled it, Say What You Mean What You Say, because we're going to find somebody that says what he means, but maybe he didn't really mean what he said. And he shouldn't have said it, but then he was stuck with it. What's stuck with you today?
Are you asking me?
Yeah. Or you. Or anybody.
Or anybody. Now I have to go backwards.
Oh, sorry.
I think the one that stuck with me the most out of our reading today is that the valiant men marched through the night and and then they took down the bodies of Saul and his sons off the wall.
Because it was the right thing to do.
Yes. The other thing that stuck out to me is that the armor bearer would not. He just would not strike his king. He would not strike the anointed. Even at the command of the anointed, even though he saw the anointed sitting there with a mortal wound, he was just not going to be the one that was going to cross that road.
Nope. And I think for me, what stuck out for me was he inquired of the Lord. David was greatly distressed, but found strength in the Lord his God. And I think that is super pertinent to today, in that we can definitely find great distress in pretty much everything. I think somebody called you and you said you were watching the news, and is anything good on? Well, no, we're watching the news. I mean, nothing good on the news ever. There's nothing ever happy or good happening on the news. Causes you great stress, but you can find strength in the Lord. That is always good. That is always hope. That is always fulfilling. That is never failing. That is always a foundation that can always bring you to a better place and a better topic. And so I like that. I mean, they were going to stone him. They wanted to stone him. He found strength in God.
And he sought the counsel of the priest.
Yes. He didn't decide to do it wrong and do his own thing, like Saul did also. He sought the priest that was going to be able to help him in his time. So I thought that was important also.
But 2 Samuel.
Yeah, 2 Samuel 1. Don't be stuck with wrong thing. Mean what you say, what you mean what you say.
Well, it's got some other exciting things there,
oh yeah,
too.
other good stuff.
But
that's
because we all know about David and his songs and how he praised and worshiped the Lord with music.
Yes.
And so we finally get to hear his words.
Yes.
His first song.
Yes. Outside of Psalms. We haven't got to Psalms yet.
Yeah. But it's like, here he goes. He's getting ready to grab the mic. So, if you can, do your reading. 2 Samuel 1. And you'll be ready for tomorrow. And so will we. And we're still going to kind of flip-flop on this time, because we got to figure out how we can do what we need to do. But it's getting hot. It's getting hot in the desert pretty quick. And it's supposed to get hotter tomorrow, which is always nice when it's hot and somebody tells you, yeah, it's supposed to be hotter tomorrow. So
I don't know. I didn't go outside, but to take the dog out, so and bring it back in, take it back out, bring it back in.
I'm sure they didn't like that.
No. Thank you guys so much for joining. Have a blessed night, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. You
Take it
look
easy.
tired, babe. You look tired. I think we should have ice cream.
Got a lot on my mind.
Oh. Ice cream makes it better.
Ice cream always makes it better.
Let's go have some ice cream.
Make sure you keep change in your car. Because
So you can have an ice
if you have a bad day, you can always stop and get an ice cream. It makes it all better. Thank you, Brandon. He told me that.
I know he did. That's why I do it.
Adios, guys. Have a nice night.
Thanks. Bye.